Welcome, Collierville, to a very different Dragon Fire. Today's show is going to be focusing on our great town of Collierville.
Our Dragon media journalists went all around the town to talk to the people running and maintaining Collierville.
Whether it's the governing body behind the town or the different facilities the town has to offer, this show has something for everybody.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Zona.
And I'm Julia Amick.
The Collierville Collective starts right now. For this show, it'll be split into the different facets of Collierville. Our different sections are government, law enforcement, public facilities, and museums. So let's start off with the government. And who better to start off with than our very own mayor and vice mayor?
Stan Joyner, and I am the mayor of Collierville. Since 2008, I've served as mayor of the town, so I'm in my 16th year.
I'm Maureen Frazier. I currently serve as the vice mayor for the town of Collierville, and I'm also an alderman position 1. I was elected in 2003, so this past May I received my 20-year pin. And I've said to myself, Collierville's a great community, let me see how I can get involved, not thinking I would ever be an elected official.
When I got involved prior to running for the board with the Planning Commission, that really piqued my interest in the things that were going on in Collierville and the potential that Collierville had for growth. Primarily. And starting out in 1987, there wasn't really a lot going on, but by the early 90s, it was a very, very busy time for the town of Collierville. And we've grown to what you see it is today. The challenge that we have each and every year is to adopt a budget, and a budget that ideally doesn't involve a property tax increase for our homeowners and citizens of the town of Collierville.
I would say as far as the town, the biggest decision and challenge we had was when we formed our own municipal school system. That took a lot of effort, a lot of work. We had to adjust our budget. We had to fund the new high school. And we had to form a school board. We had never done that before.
There were a number of trips to Nashville to talk to our legislators in Nashville about helping us to break away and to form our own municipal school district. We're just proud of what you do and proud of everything that goes on as far as establishing students in career paths through the different courses and the different classes that we offer and that type of thing at Collierville High School. I think our Board of Education does a fantastic job, and our teachers are top-notch, and that's why Collierville is a top-notch high school. We're in the process right now of building a new fire station, and that'll give us a total of 6, which will increase our personnel costs because we will have to man that fire station once we get it built.
You look around the town and there's so many good things that have happened in Collierville. And I'm one of 6 that serve on the board of mayor and aldermen, so I can't take credit for any of them all by myself. We all have to work together with staff and the fellow elected officials.
With all the growth, the main thing that we've kept in our mind is that we didn't want to lose the small town charm that the town of Collierville has. You know, I think people in Collierville take a lot of pride in saying that if they're asked where do they live, saying that they live in the town of Collierville.
What is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen? The Board of Mayor is a committee that meets every second and fourth Monday to discuss many different aspects of the town and what can be improved to assist the people of Collierville. The board's members are Mayor Stan Joyner, Vice Mayor Maureen Frazier, Alderman Billy Patton, Alderman John Worley, Alderman John E. Stamps, and finally, Alderman Missy Marshall. Recently, a heavily discussed topic was the proposal for a Chick-fil-A. The main concern was the traffic that the new Chick-fil-A would cause. The proposal was declined. Also, a mowing contract was recently given to Above All Enterprises. Above All Enterprises was awarded the first contract in 2002. Since then, they have earned many other contracts. That's all for today.
Sure. January 23rd board meeting was a varied one. We had several items on the agenda. We had just returned actually from our snow days that we had experienced in January. We started with an overview from Crosswind Elementary about their journey to becoming a National Blue Ribbon Distinguished School, which was great. Our school board elected their officers for the 2024 calendar year. The closure of CVA was a difficult decision for us to make. I think during the pandemic, CVA certainly filled a need. I do believe that there's a small number of students in our population that benefit from virtual education. However, it takes dedicated teachers, takes dedicated parents, takes dedicated students, I think, to make virtual education be successful. And when we sat back and we gauged the effectiveness and the efficiency of CVA, we just found that at this point in time, it wasn't living up to the standards that we have set for all of our Collierville schools. So ultimately, the decision was made and approved by the board to cease operations at the end of this year.
February 27th board meeting, that was the meeting this Tuesday. Could you summarize what happened on your account?
The most important thing was the granting of tenure. We had a number of teachers who had achieved tenure, which is basically an acknowledgement that a teacher has taught for a minimum of 5 school years, that they've had above average scores on their evaluations, that their principals have judged them to be good educators and they want to continue their employment in their schools.
What does the future hold for Collierville schools?
Well, we couldn't be more excited for the future of Collierville schools. We are growing by leaps and bounds. In fact, that's why we're expanding at Crosswind. That's why we're undertaking things like district-wide rezoning. We have a great product in Collierville schools, and so people are moving to the Collierville area to take advantage of our schools. They want their students to have the academic as well as the extracurricular experiences that we have here. We're ready to start a new chapter with Dr. Dyer's arrival in just a couple of weeks. He'll be here on the 18th of March. I couldn't be more excited about the future of Collierville schools.
My name is Jamie Gross. I'm the town planner here at the town of Collierville. In a way, we're like an advisor. We help the mayor and board. We work for the mayor and board and help advise them on land use decisions. We just got an application in the other day for a Dunkin' Donuts. It's going to be on Poplar Avenue next to Christian Brothers Automotive. Usually with a case like that, we look to make sure that the architecture blends in well with Collierville and that it looks nice. Sometimes with a franchise like Chick-fil-A, well, they applied last year, and so we spent the latter part of last year reviewing their plans and getting them ready to be heard by the mayor and board. And the mayor and board a few weeks ago did deny that application, but it wasn't an easy decision. So part of what we were doing is making sure that their design fit in with the Collierville standard, that it was mostly brick and had lots of like their awnings and things were black or dark red, and it didn't really, you didn't have a lot of bright colors and things like that, that it was well landscaped. But it really came down to traffic and making sure that the traffic impacts would be mitigated, that they were going to do what they needed to do to prevent bad things from happening. And the board ultimately was not convinced that all the traffic issues were addressed, so they ultimately turned it down. When a development comes in, they try to make sure that if it is going to create, like with the Chick-fil-A, or if it's going to create traffic problems, that the developer helps us solve those problems. And by that I mean like financially, put in money to fix the intersections or add turn lanes, things like that.
TV, I am executive producer, and what that means is I write the show and I book the talent being our guests. So every month we feature a different guest, typically a Colliervillian, and I book them on the show, write a script around them, write questions, and then I collaborate with David Pickler, my boss, who is the host of the show, to make sure everything's in order.
My role for Bull TV is just supporting the student crew, assembling a student crew, supporting the student crew in production, facilitating the students as they learn how to do a professional production, and then I help edit the show.
I think Bull TV is important to the audience because it gives you leadership lessons that are not all the same. Every guest that we have talks about how they got to where they are in different ways. You know, some people were born here, some people moved here.
So Bull TV for the students is important because it gives them the opportunity to work with real professionals in the industry and in the community. Lots of high school productions only produce stuff that's geared towards high school, but Bull TV is a professional level. It's a professional production, and so having that opportunity is not something that every high school gets, is being a part of a professional production.
We knew that we wanted to do a TV show. That's been in the works for years, but we didn't really know what the focus would be on. And what we landed upon was interviewing leaders in Collierville and in the Mid-South. And we wanted to do that in 2019 and 2020, but COVID happened. Students weren't as available. The high school was closed for a little bit. Guests weren't comfortable coming on. So finally in 2021, we aired our first show, March of 2021, and that was with the mayor of Collierville, Stan Joyner. And ever since then, we've been producing one every single month. So we're kind of a skeleton crew. So you have myself, executive producer, I do the writing and the talent acquisition. Then you have David Pickler, my boss, who is the host of every single episode. And he has these dynamic conversations with the guests. We have a list of questions, but he'll go off script and really pull out details about their life that are fascinating. And I love how the conversations evolve over the 30 minutes or hour that it happens. So David and I are really synced up. I run the script by him. He makes his edits. And he also writes the My 2 Cents portion, which is the closing section of every single episode, where he wraps it up, summarizes the episode with a famous quote, and then just his thoughts on the guest and on the topic we're speaking about. Then, of course, you have the students, you guys who produce the show. You're running cameras, you're running graphics, editing, everything in between. You have a floor director. And then you have, of course, your teacher, Jessica Roberts, who's director of television, who oversees everything. So that's the crew. We all work in sync, and I think we do a pretty good job.
Bridging off of government, our next section is going to be about law enforcement. We have segments with both the police department and fire department. To dive into the police department, let's learn a little more about their canine units.
Canine Joker's handler. Canine Joker is 6 years old, and he specializes in drug work, narcotic searches, and suspect apprehension.
I have Canine Cutter. He is 4 years old. He turns 5 in a couple months. He also came from Hungary. I believe Officer Kuchenbecker's dog, Axel, came from Hungary as well. Cutter specializes in narcotics detection and patrol work, which is finding the bad guys.
My experience was I had what they call a single-purpose dog. I had a yellow lab. He was donated by the Bolivar Police Department. Went up there to Bolivar in Hardeman County, trained with him for about a 4-week process to get trained on him. He's trained on marijuana, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines. Very friendly, loved going to the schools, meeting the kids, so I could go to all the schools, elementary, middle school, whatever. Do stranger danger, drug awareness, drug safety, bicycle safety. He came home with me every day, so he was with me literally 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I've had Joker since August of 2019, and he was almost a year and a half, if not a little older than that.
I've had Cutter since February of 21. He was a year and a half when I got him.
It's changed, I think, for the better, especially with Collierville. At first, they were real hesitant to get what they call patrol dogs, which are bite dogs. They've also gotten away from the typical single-purpose Labradors. They go toward the Malinois now. German Shepherds and Belgium or Dutch Malinois is what they tend to go toward now. I always liked canine. I like narcotic work and gang work. They always kind of go hand in hand. So that was kind of my passion at first. Once I did that for roughly 10 to 12 years, I came back to Patrol Division, became an FTO, a training officer, and then eventually got onto the SWAT team, where I currently am assigned as a SWAT officer and here at the schools now.
Once I started police work and started seeing the canine unit is when I decided I wanted to be part of the canine unit.
I've always had an interest in narcotic work. Canine was the fastest route to get in there, and I've always loved animals. I've been a dog person my whole life, so it's just a natural fit.
I think I was the same way. I trained hunting dogs growing up. I've been around dogs, and I've always been interested in being a canine handler.
Day to day is we rotated shifts, so we had a 7 in the morning till 3, and then a 3 in the afternoon till 11, because back then there was only 2 of us. So I worked a 3 to 11 shift. So we would wake up in the morning, I would bathe him, groom him, just do normal dog stuff with him. You know, he was kind of like a pet more than a work dog at that time. But once I put my uniform on, that's when he kind of changed modes and went into drug dog. Hey, it's time to go to work. So he got all excited. He lived to work. He loved it. To him, it was a game. It wasn't work. His reward was a tennis ball. So whenever he would locate narcotics, he was what we call passive aggressive. He would sit. Aggressive dogs, they scratch, bark, claw, bite, try to actually get to the drugs. He would smell the drugs and then immediately sit and look at me like, hey, Dad, the drugs are right here. Give me my
name is John Selberg, John Selberg, and I'm the fire chief here at Collierville Fire and Rescue. As they've watched the growth and the projected annexation areas here in Collierville, but as the town began to grow more down in that area, particularly with the high school and the other school down there in that area, and more residential and commercial growth down in there, it became more evident that we needed to get another fire station down in there to cover that area. So probably within the past several years, it really became a high issue for us. So obviously one of the first challenges is just the financing and finding personnel for it. Right now we're trying to undergo hiring for that station, and that is a challenge, finding people that can fit that to the level that we want them to be at. Also, just the construction of the station, it's right across on Shelby Drive from the high school, and that area is lowland, so we are going to have to do a lot of dirt work in there. So there'll be a lot to raise it up a little bit. If you ever look at the sign there on Shelby Drive, we actually have relocated the station just a little bit more to the left to have it where it's not in such a lowland area. So that will be a big obstacle for us to overcome at first. So we are shooting to do that April 1st, if we can work that out. So very soon we'll get underway, and then they will initiate the dirt work right after that. So right now we're projecting about 18 months. Our contractor might be able to get it done quicker than that, but we've got to see how much issues we run into with the dirt work and everything. But I'm thinking late 2025, we should be ready to move in there. So the station's going to be really neat. It took in a lot of the design elements from the high school. So we have the barrel roof over the apparatus bay, just very similar to the athletic building. So that's going to look really cool. A lot of the same colors and brick and things. We'll also have a dragon out in front. You know, they refer to this station as the protectors of the dragons. So we'll have the dragon on the front, and then also the fire truck that'll be in there has a ladder on it. And on the side of the ladder also has the dragons on it. So it's kind of unique that way. It's a two-story station. We don't have two-story stations right now here in the town, but the downstairs will be mainly the living areas. We'll also have an office for the police officers. They can stop in there and get on their computer and heat up something to eat for dinner or something, and use the restroom. There'll be a front lobby. We'll have an old hose cart, fire hose cart, that'd be kind of neat for people coming by on tours and everything. We'll have 2 poles in the station because we're going to have the living quarters upstairs, or the sleeping quarters. So it'll be 10 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, so 2 fire poles. We've never had fire poles out here in Collierville. The apparatus bay has room for 3 different vehicle bays. So we'll have room to put an ambulance and a fire truck and a fire engine eventually down there. So it gives us a little bit of capacity. We have a lot of storage capacity in that building with our medical storage and our turnouts and our gear and stuff like that. A nice fitness room for the guys. So.
Next up, we have our public facilities. This includes Parks and Rec, the Animal Shelter, the library, Town Square, and Herald Theater. Let's go down to Cox Park first to learn more about our amazing parks and recreation sports.
Recreation and sports manager. My position is I am over the athletics and sports programs in our park system. I supervise and administer flag football, baseball, softball, basketball, girls volleyball. I think what people benefit most from recreation and sports is socializing, getting out, exercise. I think it brings a lot of people together, not only a lot of people, but different people and things they want to do. And I mean, things we've expanded over the years and programs we offer and that we work with. We may not offer the programs, but we provide facilities for them, like Collierville High School, for example, their baseball team. When I go watch Collierville softball team play or Collierville baseball team play, a lot of those kids played in our program and played on our fields. And it's a good feeling when you see these kids and grow up in our basketball program, got several in major leagues right now. A lot of them playing D1 softball, football, everything. So, it's just, we contribute a great deal. The people that probably would never socialize together, their kids are on the same team, and all of a sudden they're still best friends to this day. So we have spring baseball, spring softball, volleyball, basketball's finishing up, but we got all our spring sports happening right now. Registration, and we'll be starting those up probably end of March.
My name is Lily Whitehead, and I am an animal care technician.
Hi, my name is Jim Lewis. I am an animal kennel technician for the shelter.
I've been working here for a little over 2 years.
I started in September of last year, so I've been here about 6 months.
So I have always loved animals, and before here I worked at a doggy daycare, but I really wanted to switch it up and start working with rescue animals just because I do have a passion for it.
I retired from FedEx after 30 years. Was just looking for something part-time to do, and I saw that they had a part-time position, and I thought, boy, sounds great. Work with puppies and kitties, and so I came up here, talked to Brandon, put in an application, and the rest is history.
So we get here in the morning around 7:30, and the first thing we do is go and feed all the animals, get them their food, and if any of the animals need meds, we go ahead and do that as well. And then we go ahead and walk all the animals. All of the animals get to go around the lake in the morning, which is really good for them, just exercise and mentally.
My favorite part is to be able to, when we go out, we rescue a dog that's, obviously in danger. It's on the side of a busy road.
My favorite part about working here would probably be just getting to help the animals, because a lot of them come in super skinny or super scared.
When you get them here, we get to work with them, and sometimes you just have to work with the dogs for a long time to kind of get them out of their shell and get them to where they're in a happy, healthy state so that they can be adopted.
So I love getting to help the animals grow in their confidence and also just getting them back healthy. It's really rewarding.
It's a great place. We always look for people who want to volunteer to come, love on the animals a little bit. We always enjoy when people do that. We're just here to serve and take care of the animals, and any help we can get, we appreciate it.
My name is Julia Trumpy. I am the Youth Services Manager. So originally I was trying to create a program to celebrate Take Your Child to the Library Day. So then it was just a matter of figuring out what exactly I wanted to do. And eventually I decided I wanted to focus on early literacy. And I looked at what other libraries do, and I came across the Family Literacy Night. We've had similar events in the past. Pre-COVID, for instance, I had an agriculture day, but that was more based on farming rather than on early literacy. So this would be the first year for an early literacy-based program. And we hope it goes really well so we can do it again in the future. I'm interested or excited to see how the community receives it. I'm gonna enjoy seeing all the families working together to build their words or to read books together. Just having everything set up beforehand for families so they don't have to work in order to create that sort of atmosphere to have that togetherness. Everything's set up for them, so they just have to come and enjoy themselves. Nice and easy, and something fun for all of them to connect over. First session of Family Literacy Night will go well, that we can do it again in the future. Otherwise, in March, we're actually planning a book festival, so that'll be gathering local children's and young adult authors, and they're going to be here to sell their works and meet the community. In April, on April 8th, I believe is the eclipse day, we're having a solar eclipse viewing party. So there'll be activities for the kids, and we'll be set out in Halley Park, so they'll be able to enjoy the day and connect that way.
My name is Evan Leake. Consignment music started in 1990 in Memphis, and it was over on Park Avenue and Getwell area. And the guy that ran the store back then passed away in 2018, and I bought the business and brought it out here to Collierville. Well, to create the business was brought on mainly because I've always had a passion for music. It wasn't any person in general other than maybe the Beatles that got me involved with music in itself. And Elvis Presley, of course, and Jimi Hendrix was the very first concert I went to see, and that influenced me big time. Opened the store mainly because of I have 2 sons, and I was going to try to get them involved in it, and I only got one that's involved in it. Guitars is my favorite musical instrument. The park area out here is my favorite park. I mean, it's a favorite part of being up here on the square. My family owns that land over there where the park is, all the way over to the railroad tracks. And it's just a heritage type thing. I was born here. That's why I chose Collierville.
It's Terry Dean, Terrydean. The Herald Theater is a 350-seat theater that we produce shows. I am with the Collierville Arts Council. We're a service provider for the town of Collierville, and we are happy. We've been 37 years now, I think, producing shows for the town of Collierville, and we love doing all kinds of productions, musicals, dramas, you name it. And then also other people come in. This is actually a rental that's in here right now. And then also New Day Children's Theater comes in and does their shows in between our shows. Our mission primarily is to provide quality art events for the surrounding community. Right now, New Day does come in and they do summer camps in the summer, and that's a great way for them to introduce children who maybe haven't ever done theater, and then they can come and audition for shows in the future. We have a great volunteer program here if they want to come and usher for shows. We have volunteers. You can come and be on the Arts Council. We have monthly meetings, and we also do an event in the fall called Arts in the Alley, and it's in the alley off the Collierville Town Square. Really a lot of fun. Some of the staff that we use for all of our shows, like Tammy Holt is music directed. The staff at the high school, Chris Luter and Kathy Teal and Matthew Morrison and Ashley Williams, they've all been a part of our production staff and even been in our shows. I would just like to say, hey, come and see a show at the Herald Theater. We'll be doing 9 to 5 this June. Chris Luter is going to be directing that show. It's going to be at all of our staff are from Collierville High School. We're pretty excited about that.
For our last section, we have museums. If you didn't already know, Collierville has some great history behind it, and both the Morton Museum and Train Museums tell it beautifully. Kicking off this section is our town PIO, Jennifer Casey, with the Morton Museum.
Morton Museum is essentially a museum of Collierville history. It's where we can store all of our historical artifacts, we can interpret some of the history, we can come up with programming to educate the community about our history. It's basically a place where everyone can go to learn all about different aspects of Collierville's history. It was originally a church that was built in 1863, and it served as Collierville Christian Church until 1992. And after that, it was a couple different things. It was an antique shop, it was a restaurant for a little while, and then it was abandoned. So Morgan Morton bought the property with the intent to give it to the town of Collierville. And we renovated it, and we wanted it to become our museum of history. So the way it relates to history is that it is a true visible part of our history that's also sitting on Poplar and Main Street, which is essentially a gateway into our historic district. I do want to say that the Morton Museum staff, they put on some really great programs. They make sure that they cover a lot of our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they make them for all different ages. They are free for everyone, so I just want to encourage everyone to look at their event calendar to see what sort of fun events they have coming up. The Morton Museum of Collierville History is located at 196 North Main Street. They are open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4, and admission is always free.
Ashley Carver. I am the Director of Tourism for the town of Collierville.
So my background is in museums, and I've always had a passion for connecting communities to their stories. The trains were acquired in the early 90s as part of a larger renovation project of Town Square. So they have a pretty interesting history. We have three. The executive car that we're beside right now, that started its life as a steel and wood passenger car, like something you may see in movies. It had the clerestory windows that ran across the top for ventilation. In the 1940s, the railroad renovated the train and made it a business car, kind of like the corporate jet of its day. So it would have taken railroad officials, politicians, other VIPs around to inspect the railroad. It was used in the 40s, like I said. We know at some point it ended up at the Florida State University's outside their football stadium, and it was used as their booster club headquarters. After that stadium was renovated, they sold their business cars, and it went to New Orleans, where the town purchased it in the early 90s. Yeah, the caboose dates to 1949 around. It was put in service by the Nickel Plate Railroad. It ran out west. It was used up until the early 70s when it was retired and it came to Collierville. But the caboose was essential for the safety of the crew and the train. So obviously the caboose, it was at the back of the line of train cars, and it has that cupola, that window that kind of sticks up above the roof line of the train, and that's where staff could inspect the train, see if any shifting of the loads. It was also the office of the conductor. That's where they were. The steam engine and tender car, our Frisco 1351, it dates to 1912. It was built in New York, and it was in service all the way up until around 59. And then it was retired. It spent some time at the Memphis Fairgrounds before coming out to Collierville. We actually have some really neat pictures of them leapfrogging track at the fairground to get it on the railroad to bring it out to Collierville in April of 1992. I don't think we would be the thriving town that we are today if the railroad didn't come through in the early 1850s. We became a place where farmers, merchants wanted to establish, set up businesses because they could quickly transport their goods to Memphis. And I think that, continued. We were always a hub for commerce and trade because of the railroad. And it's fun, right? From 2 to 92, you love the trains. Come visit me. My office is in the Depot Visitor Center. That's our historic train depot. The building actually came from LaGrange, Tennessee in 1944, and it was used by Southern Railroad up through the 70s. So it's a great piece of living history that folks can explore on Monday through Friday.
Thank you all for joining us for this very special Dragon Fire.
We hope you learned something new from the Collierville Collective and enjoyed it.
Be sure to check out our social medias on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Collierville Dragon Media.
Until next time, I'm Andrew Zona.
And I'm Julia Amick. Have a great day.